Hey everybody, Mike here at Anglers. We got LJ with us today. Thanks for stopping by, LJ. Really
Thanks for
appreciate
having me.
having you here. So we have some hot topics to talk about fishing wise.
Yeah.
Big weekend
Yes.
coming up. A lot of
Yes.
stuff going on.
Big weekend. We got some nice weather coming.
Yeah.
And right now we're in the Mayworm bite. And what Mayworms are, they're worms that come out of the muddy bottom in the bay. And they come out this time of year only one time, and they come out to spawn. And they come out and they create these big plumes of worms, and the striped bass just swim through them and they gorge themselves on them. And the Mayworm hatch happens around the full moon, and these bass feed all night. But the thing of it is, when they eat all those Mayworms, they have to eat a fish to keep it all in. Otherwise, all that protein, they'll just puke it up.
It's like protein shakes without,
You
any
got to have that
bread or
oil to
anything.
keep it in
Yeah,
there,
no,
so they
absolutely.
can process that stuff. And so, the thing of it is that these fish are skittish right now at this time of year, and because they know three things: they know what boats are, they know what hooks are, and they know what nets are, and they don't like any of them. So, when they're already full, their guard is up, and a holiday weekend coming up here, we're gonna have a lot of boats out there, which is fine. Don't worry about that. Just position your boat around. You'll see some birds. Follow them around, and you'll see fish. They'll be suspended. Work yourself in a position so that you can drift into those plumes of fish. When you see these plumes on your fish finder that don't look like schools of fish, and if you zoom in on your down scan and you notice that they're not fish, mark that and keep that mark. And every time you do that out there, mark that. And I'm talking about open water in the Chesapeake Bay, not in the creeks and stuff. I'm talking about somewhere between 30 and 55 feet of water. Every year when you see stuff like that, anytime you're out there, mark that spot. And here's why. When those worms come out and then they spawn, some of them swim right back in, and some of them die after they spawn. That's their last spawn. So what happens is every year they will come right back out of that mud, right there, or right there in that general area. So you'll, after a couple years of doing this, you're going to know where these plumes are out in the bay. I got plenty of marks on my fish finder. I love it, and they work. And so every year I'll just go out to those areas. Right. I hang out, and the best thing you can do. All right, let's talk about what to do for the colors and stuff. Pink is an excellent color this time of year. We got some Z-Man here at Anglers. We got some BKDs. This is, what is this? Electric Chicken. Yeah. Anything with pink in it. Okay, even Striper Sniper has a hot pink worm, and Bustin' Baits has a hot pink worm. But also you want pink and some chartreuse, okay? So what you want to do is when I'm using the 7-inch or the 6-inch baits, I'm going to add a green chartreuse skirt to them. And I'm always using a 1-ounce head. These colors work great for all these colors in here, all right, for these plastics. I want to say that. So what you want to do is when you're out there fishing for them and you get yourself all positioned, you're coming into these areas where you know there's worms and there's fish in this area, be stealthy. I always like to have about 4 anglers in my boat, and have those baits out there creating all that action. Put your ProCure Super Gel on your baits. Put that scent out there. Make it smell like a restaurant that's following your boat. Okay, what do I do when I catch a fish? Just like mahi-mahi this time of year. Keep them on the line. Keep lines in the water. If you have 4 fish on at a time, keep 2 of those fish in the water. Keep those fish following your boat, because there's all this action generated. Because I'll tell you what, if you catch 4 at one time, you pull all those fish out of the boat, you take them off, you measure them, and you go, where'd the fish go? They lost interest in your boat and they took off because
you drifted out.
Yep, they just take off. So when you get that action to your boat, then capitalize on it. So know what Mayworms are, find them out in the bay, mark them on your fish finder, put these color patterns together. If you're out there, there's only 2 of you, put a couple of rods in the rod holders and dead stack them. Don't be surprised. Drop them down to the bottom, let them come up just a little bit, put them in rod holders, and then the 2 of you start casting all over the boat and create all this action coming into your boat. Don't be surprised if the dead sticks catch more than you do.
Wow.
The tip just goes right down in the water, and there's your fish. All right, so don't be, when you find, if there's small fish on the top, don't worry about it. Right now, we've got bluefish following these things. Also, your larger fish are going to be in the vicinity picking up those scraps. They're being lazy. They're all just chowing down and being very cautious because they've been feeding all night, and then it's the mayworm bite.
So let's talk about this. So mayworms are generally known as red, right? So the other side of this, of course, we're talking light tackle fishing here. So of course, like, people are always busting out like, hey, I want my little red hoses, I'm gonna bottom bounce. So why do you think that the pink and chartreuse works a little better than red? Or is it just that there aren't many red plastics on the market to actually try? And would you hot rod, you know, spike it, or do you not really feel like that's necessary or part of it?
I don't normally.
You are wearing a red t-shirt too, so I mean, it's not irrelevant.
These worms, I mean, they're gonna be
they're very
big as
tiny.
my thumb. I mean, they get big.
Yeah.
Like, and some of them will be small like my pinky. But there's just something about the chartreuse and the pink this time of year. I can't explain it. The worms are kind of brown. I mean, kind of.
Yeah, they are.
Brown,
Yeah, absolutely.
But they see these colors well in this water this time of year. Right now we got this algae bloom up here.
Yep.
Don't be shy on that. Sometimes them fish are in that dirty water, and it's crazy.
Yeah, and the water is very dirty. And actually, I feel like we need to keyword this type of fishing because I love it. Like, and again, like you said, mahi.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fish that do that you know, that really react like that. So I think this sort of light tackle chumming is what we're going to call it here. You know, I feel like it is a really great way. And I think you hit the nail on the head, is kind of creating that excitement and that havoc. Because they're lackadaisical.
They're competitive. They act like seagulls, you know.
Right. But they are filling their bellies, and they are, you know, so playing it that way, I feel like is great.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely great. I feel like another thing too. So, you know, the mayworm hatch, which doesn't necessarily turn off the chum bite, but usually that's kind of like people, you know, we hear mayworms and everybody's like, okay, stop fishing, you know, bait fishing and all that kind of stuff. Right. It's kind of like the signal of that change. So do want to talk about fishing the bridge and stuff, because these same tactics, of course, I mean, I think what you said is way better, but jigging right now around the bridge, especially with these new regulations, is going to be really good. It's a great way to target fish that maybe are already fired up, hence why they're feeding around these pilings. But I was just telling you earlier, I went out yesterday and caught a ton of a really nice small white perch. So I think now that they're starting to move into some hard bottom where you can bottom fish, pick those up, live lining this time of year before the spot come is fantastic too. So definitely don't sleep on that as another great tactic during this time of year to throw something that's a little different that they haven't been looking at a lot. So definitely that. So what else we got going on?
Oh, that's about it.
That's
be
about
out there all weekend.
Well, so I really want to talk about these bluefish, because you said bluefish earlier, and I feel like people always hear that and they're like, "Wait, but it's May."
I know. It's
crazy. So how? You know, what general vicinities are we talking about? Are we talking up to Thomas Point? Are we talking about
I don't go too far from my house. I fish right out front of Chesapeake Beach.
Yeah.
They're from the west side to the east side. We caught ours on Stone Rock. The pattern we found on the bluefish was we had the small stripers feeding on rain minnows. There's rain minnows out there right now. They're feeding. I've found several times I've been out there. I'm breaking fish on rain minnows. They're in. And the bluefish, I'm looking at my fish finder, and I told my guys in the boat, I said, hey, there's bigger fish on the bottom. And we thought they were striped bass. And we pulled one out and said, are you kidding me? This is like middle of May. I've never
nice
caught
size?
One. Oh, yeah, it's like 19, 20 inches. But the other thing is there's another thing about this, that this time of year, I believe, and I've seen it because I've seen these big horse croakers out there that have been missing their tail and they're floating on the surface because their air bladder didn't pop. And he's croaking. And it was a bluefish V on him. We get some sleeper chompers out here in the bay this time of year. And if people don't pay attention to that because they're all focused on striped bass.
Right.
But there's big bluefish between now and the middle of June, and then they're gone. And then we just left with those little snapper blues after that.
Well, that's great.
So, like Clark spoons, the double-aught gold, or the silver, if you're trolling those on the planer boards, get them down on number ones and number twos, and troll those things east and west, just like striped bass. And don't be surprised if that thing just goes off. Just remember, and you've got to be forgiving with that little 2-aught hook that's in those Clark spoons.
Right,
Don't
yeah,
horse that thing. In fact, don't even worry about dropping your other lines down. I'm serious, because those big
stop.
ones, they fight. I mean, like crazy, and they've broken my hooks before.
Wow.
And my dad is an experienced angler, and he got one broke. I said, Dad, slow down, relax, catch your breath, and I'm slowing the boat way down, and he just got all excited.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yes.
It means it was this big.
It was absolutely.
It was this big. Well, that's great. Well, thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate it, and especially, and hopefully we can do some more of these as the seasons change. During this time of year, just so everybody knows too, things are changing every week, every other week.
Yeah.
Weather patterns are changing, temperatures. So things get really wild. You know, like whatever you were saying now in a week or two.
We're a little bit delayed this year from our normal patterns, but it's kicking up right now. Get out there and catch some fish. It's getting good. It's the beginning of all of it coming out.
And it's Memorial Weekend now, but it's really the next week of weather that should really take us into full gear.
60, 61 degrees yesterday surface temperature. Next week will probably pop up high in the mid high 60s at least. So it'll be really
looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Definitely pick up some G-Eye Jigs, 1 ounce. BKD,
Yes,
Seamans, all that. Hope to see you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in.